kudos to you for keeping up with me. Now let's dive into part 4, which is puzzle number 2. Puzzle number 2 is a rebus puzzle, and we're going to use a website called festicite.com/rebus. However, I want to make sure you know that this website does not allow for commercial use. You may not download their image and use it in your mini escape room. You may not take a screenshot of their images and use it in your mini escape room. But what I will show you how to do is how to spend some time finding correlating or related images that do allow for commercial use. So we're going to use this website here simply as inspiration to help generate some ideas or to use as a guide so we know what images we need to search for in order to use them in our rebus puzzle. Now, just a heads up, this site will generate inappropriate images, so choose your images accordingly. Just a fair warning. In a little bit, I will show you the actual website and how it works, but I just want to go over a few basics. It can be done in multiple languages, so number 1, make sure you have English chosen. And number 2, if I was looking for a rebus for the word golfing, sometimes if you add a space in between some of the letters, it will yield a different result. So if you're not getting what you want the first time around, then try adding some spaces to see a little bit more variety or get another option. So let's talk rebus puzzles. Down here, you already have your background image. And now that you've created puzzle number 1, it's going to be much easier to create puzzles 2, 3, and 4. So here, I am going to simply copy the title, the icon, and the directions. Now, I know I just copied puzzle 2, but you'll do the same exact thing with puzzle number 1. You'll rename it either rebus or whatever you choose to name your puzzle, and you will write the directions, which simply say, use the images to determine the word, spell them correctly in the boxes below, then unscramble the letters in the gray shaded boxes. Now, you should be saying, I see a common theme. Yes, we're creating another grid. Yes, we're creating gray shaded boxes. And yes, these shaded boxes unscramble to a word in the word bank, again, where all words in the word bank are related to your theme. I have, of course, sports, but these 6 words in the word bank are not the same as the words in puzzle number 1. So once again, I encourage you to visit your list from ChatGPT of theme-related words. So change the title. And now let me show you how to quickly change the icon. You had a 1 and you want to change it to a 2. So I want you to right-click, choose Change Graphic from Icons. And this time, instead of typing a 1, you are going to type a 2 and choose the one with the black fill. And now we have a 2. Voila, just like that. We do not have to use the eyedropper tool to change the color. We do not have to resize it because it is already the same match. So again, let's say we were just working on puzzle number 1. You right click, choose Change Graphic from Icons, and let's say I was on puzzle number 1, click it, insert, ta-da, there you go. Now let me get back to where I was. Again, your title should be about 28. Your font size for your directions, notice there are 2 lines here, should be about 15. And now we are going to make 4 rebus puzzles, but we need to have a space not only for the actual rebus, but also a space for the kids to write their answer. So we are going to go to Insert, Shape, and we're going to choose a rectangle. Now, these won't be perfect. It's going to take a little bit of trial and error for you to play around with the sizes that work for you and how big you create your images. But once you have a box, you are going to, with it clicked, head up to Shape Fill and choose white. Your outline can be any color. I like to do black. And I also like the weight to be a little bit bigger or wider. Now, some of you, depending on the version of PowerPoint that you have, some of you are going to be able to add this sketched line effect. And unfortunately, some of you aren't. I like this effect. You may or may not like it. So now that I've got a box, I need 4 of them. So let's copy and paste and let's line it up a tiny bit better. Now we have here and here. And don't forget that you need to leave room at the bottom for your word bank. Now again, this little image comes with the All Access Pass, but if you're simply looking to insert a table, you can go to Insert, Table. It is 3 across by 2 down. We did this before, we'll do it again, but this time a little bit quicker. We want the shading under Table Design to be white. We like the size of the borders to be a little bit thicker, and then we're going to choose all borders. Now you can simply type in answer number 1, and it is black, and it already tells me I spelled it wrong. And then you can make it be in the center. These are where your 6 related word goes. Notice they have overlapping letters and they are similar, if not the same length, because once kids count the number of boxes, they may or may not be able to eliminate answers down here. But we of course want them to have to finish all of the puzzles in order to determine the code word or secret word for their answer key. Now at the bottom of these boxes, notice I added a little grid here and it has 8 spaces. So again, your answers cannot be more than 8 letters. So let's add a new grid. We're going to insert table, and up here it tells you 8 by 1. Again, we want white, we want borders, and now this is obviously too big. So we're gonna line it up on the left, and then we're gonna use this middle dot here to line it up on the right, and voila, you now have a place for your grid. You can shade the boxes of the secret letters or the mystery letters by clicking inside where you want that to go. Heading up to, oh, hold on, my computer is thinking for a second. Let's see what's happening. There we go. Head up to shading, and again, I like this second gray one down. So now that you have the basics, you will play around with aligning everything and making it look how you want it. But you'll need to also copy and paste these little grids. And let me show you how now to use the website. So on festasite.com/rebus/, you want to make sure, first of all, that you're using English and that you're showing the hints, because these hints are super important and we're going to add them to our own Rebus puzzles. But here we have generated a Rebus. However, this website does not, and I repeat, does not allow for commercial use. So you cannot simply download or take a screenshot of this image and use it in your end product. So what we would do is we see that there is an ant and there is a calendar. That means that we need to go find 2 images with a commercial use license, the first one of an ant and the second one of a calendar or a date page. So what I do is head to pixabay.com and I typed in ant. But I want a PNG image with no background. And so if you want to refine your search, you can head to color and choose black and white and apply. And now you'll get all vector images with transparent backgrounds, and pick the one that you like best. But let's go back here. Let's see what else we have to find. If the image doesn't show up, it tells you what it is. So I could find a key if I wanted to. But I know that, let's see, let's just start from fresh and get back to the puzzle that we had. And it is not working for us. Let's see. God, there we go. There we go. This is the one we're trying to find. So we have our ant picture. Now we want our date picture. Again, we are going back to Pixabay. And I'm just going to type in calendar. And again, if it's not defaulted for you, you can choose color of black and white and hit apply. So you're only left with vector images. And then scroll down and find the one that you want, that you think would work well. So let's just use this one as an example. Now we'll paste it here in the PowerPoint, and obviously it's too big, so we're going to shrink the image by the corners to make it fit inside this area. Now when you're shrinking, if these images become too small and you can't tell what they are, then I do suggest finding a different image. And I'm going to move this down a little bit because this one is a great example of why and when you need to add the hint below the image. Some of these, or actually all of the ones I used up top, only have really one meaning. So there is a ring, there is a balloon, there is a bird. And now if they thought that maybe this was a hummingbird, these letters help them use deductive reasoning in order to really determine what the picture is. So let's say they thought it was a duck. Well, with the letters D-U-C-K, there is no R and D to subtract or take away from it. So that also helps them determining the words. However, this right here, this could be misconstrued or has multiple examples. It could be a calendar. It could be May. It could be the first. It could be a day. It could be a year. The kids don't really know. And so in this case, when a image has more than one meaning, then I like to insert a little text box below, and I'm just going to grab some text from right there and make it really small. I make it about a size 12. And I am just going to add that what they are looking for, or the word hint that they're using, is the word date. So another example might be a baseball. You think a baseball is pretty clear. However, the kids might just write ball. Or let's say you have a picture of a school bus. Is it a school bus or is it a bus? Basically, if the kids cannot determine what the rebus image is of, they don't really have a way of replacing the letters or solving the puzzles. So when the image is questionable, when there might be more than one result, I put a little hint just below or even above the image to kind of guide them in their puzzle reasoning. Another example is here. Let's say you have a picture of a cow. Well, the kids might think it's a cow, a bull, cattle, ox, oxen. There's a lot of different choices. So sometimes even when it seems obvious, go ahead and add the hints below. Now let's finish up here on the bottom. These words, again, should all be related to your theme. They will need to unscramble the letters in the gray shaded boxes in order to reveal the final word that they write on their puzzle. And now let's talk about the puzzle. Let's say it was date, and you're going to have to play around with font size. And let's say they wanted us to subtract or not use the letters T and E. We're just going to play around with text boxes. And then maybe it said to add something like this example here. You would not use this image, but you would put the letters inside of the text box so that it looked something like this. So for this example, there is a sun and a ring. It tells us to replace the N with an R, so we're at S-U-R, and to replace the R in ring with an F, which is S-U-R-F-I-N-G. So the word that they are trying to figure out here is surfing. Rebus puzzles are a lot of fun. It really challenges critical thinking skills. You will want to have a list of multiple words because sometimes on the website, if you write baseball, it will literally give you a picture of a baseball and not any sort of letters to add or subtract or replace. So you will need to get a little bit creative here. Remember, sometimes when you put a space in between the letters, you can get a different result. And most importantly, make sure that the kids can recognize the image. If it has multiple meanings, put a little hint right here. Go ahead and take a break. You deserve one. Take some time to catch up. You should now be finishing up puzzle number 2. I recommend that when you choose pictures, it's okay if you choose color pictures, but just make sure that they would also print well in black and white, because remember, not everyone has access or money to spend on color ink. And don't forget to jot your puzzle answers down somewhere for easy access when it comes time to creating the answer key. You are halfway through, so let's get right into part 5, puzzle number 3, which is a Polybius square. You, of course, can change the title. And let me just review how this puzzle works so you understand it before you create it. The directions say, use the numbers to determine what letter each combination represents. If the box is blank, determine what letter is missing. And there's a hint. There's an arrow that goes to the right and then an arrow that goes down. So here are 3 clues, but some of the clues are letters. Let's do this first combination together. So 5, 4 is essentially a grid coordinate. And remember, the directions say right, then down. So let's go over to 5 and down to 4, and the letter is S. Let's do this one, 3, 1. Right 3, down 1, the letter is E. Now, if you'll notice on this grid, some of these boxes are blank, and that is done on purpose. That is done to add an extra layer of challenge to really put their critical thinking caps on to solve this puzzle. So here you can see there's a B, C, D, and an E. So logically, you can assume that the letter missing here is A, and you are correct. In each row, there are 5 letters of the alphabet that are consecutive letters, but they are in a random order. And the order does not matter as long as you have the consecutive letters there. So A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and K. In order to make this an even numbered grid, I use the letters I and J together because J is not often used. You could potentially use the Q maybe with the R because a Q is not often used. If they have a 4, 2 in their grid over here, for example, I do, they again will have to use deductive reasoning skills because this spells N-I-N. Obviously, if they were to choose the J, J-N is not a word. So what happens here is we have 3 clues that eliminate answers from your grid on the bottom. Again, they have a word bank with 6 words related to my theme that I have not already used. This is where that handy dandy ChatGPT list comes into play. So the first one here, if you were to go through this puzzle, says eliminate 7-letter words. So kids could go through and cross off all of the 7-letter words. And now the trick here is you want the kids to have to decode each clue. If all of these were 7-letter words except this one, they can solve the puzzle without doing the remaining clues, and we don't want that to happen. The next clue says eliminate words that end in L. Notice this 1, 3, over 1, down 3. When you go through the alphabet, the letter that is consecutively missing is an L. So now let's get rid of any word that has an L in it. And this is good because now there are still 2 remaining words. They still do not know the answer unless they solve all of the clues. So this last clue here, once decoded, says the answer does not have an S. So now kids can eliminate this, and the final word that they will write as their mystery word on their answer sheet is the word track. So very, very important. Number 1 is to make sure that your directions have the arrows. Without these arrows, they won't know to go across first and then down. And if they go down first and then across, then the letters on the grid are not correct or do not correlate with your clues. So definitely make sure you have these arrows in the directions. We're going to do the same thing we did with card 2. We're going to go back to one of the puzzles that we already created, and we're just going to copy and paste the icons, the titles, and the directions, and then change the icon. So you want a number 3, you're going to right click, change graphic from icons, and you are going to choose a 3. When you do it this way, everything is already pre-formatted for you. The color is correct, the black outline is correct, and we are ready to go. You can move your title around if you want. You can make it bigger. You can change the font. You can change the name of it. That is completely up to you. And then these little arrows here, let me show you how to insert them. You're going to go to Insert, Shape, and you're going to choose an arrow going right. And I just make them really small. So we have an arrow going right. And now we're going to go back to Insert, Shape, and you will see that there is also a down arrow. And there you go. So these directions will also be found below the video so that you can copy and paste them. Now let's set up this table here. This is a 6x6 table or grid. So we are going to go to Insert, Table, and you can just count across and down if you want, or you can choose Insert Table and write the specifics. Now we're going to move this down. It is not the right size, and that's okay. So using this middle circle here, We're going to drag it over. We want it to take up about half of the top area, but we don't want this color combination. So with the grid still selected, we're going to go to Table Design. We are going to choose the shading as white. And remember, you want your pen color to be black. I like the 2 1/4. And we're going to choose all borders. If this is not on default for you, click on the toggle and choose all borders. Now going across the top and across the left-hand side, you are going to write your numbers, and mine show up white. So I just need to make sure the default is black. Nothing goes in this top box here. So we have a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we need to either make it all bold or not all bold. That is preference. So remember, these letters are this row here is the first 5 letters of the alphabet. How you set it up is up to you. If you want to do an A here, a B, let's skip the C, a D, and an E. Now, when you're creating coordinates, 1, 1, going over 1 and down 1 would be a C. In every row, excuse me, I want you to scramble the 5 consecutive letters, and in every row, I want you to leave 1 blank. Now, let's create these boxes here. You're going to go to Insert, Shape, and we will choose a rectangle. And once again, you will need to play around with sizing to see what works well, how it lines up, etc. But we don't want this box to be blue, so with it selected, we are going to Shape Fill, and we're going to choose white. I like my outlines to be black, and I also like my outlines to be a little bit thicker, so we're going to choose 2 1/4. You're going to copy and paste those boxes until you have 3. Remember, you need to leave room at the bottom for your word bank. Now, in order to write your clues, you are simply going to insert a text box, and your clues can ask the kids somehow to eliminate an answer. You can say, and here's a list of clue ideas down here. You can say that it does not rhyme with, it does not end with, it does not contain the letter, it starts with a letter. Let's say it starts with the letter S. You want to have more than one. You can choose to get rid of something. Maybe you have a bunch of foods listed in there. You can cross off colors. Let's say your theme is Christmas, and in your word bank you have red, green, and silver. So you can have kids cross off colors. You can also have kids eliminate answers with a certain number of letters. So for example, this one up here says eliminate 7-letter words. Now notice I have some of the clues actually written out for the kids to read, and that is really done so that I have enough room in this box for my clue. If I decided to have all of this done in coordinates, it wouldn't fit in my box, or the font would be too small. The next clue says eliminate words that end in L. And the last one says, again, the answer does not have an S. So these are just some ideas. There's no specific format that you need to use. And this is where you can get really creative. So we're just going to add a text box. We will draw it in here. You're going to type eliminate. Oops, spelled that wrong. And now, based on your clue and your grid, is when you're going to start typing your coordinates. Your coordinates should be separated by a comma and then a space. a comma, and then a space. A comma, and then a space. Of course, play around with the font. In my example, the font size is about an 18. You really don't want to go smaller than that because they want to be able to easily decode these numbers. And this leaves them a little bit of room to write the letter replacements there as well. The last thing you need to do is add your answer grid or word bank at the bottom. And since you've already created one, you can simply copy and paste your little grid, whether you're using the All Access Pass graphic or you created a simple grid. You can still copy and paste. And then you can copy the text boxes of your answers and paste them, but make sure you change out these words so you're not repetitive. I do want you to keep in mind your clue ideas. You're going to want to think of the clue ideas before you decide what words you want in your word bank, or if you create your word bank first, then you can see which clues work for you. It will take a little bit of trial and error, and that's okay. This is where you can really stand out and get creative. And now is the perfect time to take a break, finish puzzle number 3, make sure that all 3 clues have to be decoded in order to determine that final mystery word. Double check, make sure you included arrows in your directions. Remember, they're going across or right first and then down on the grid to find the coordinates, and jot your answers down for easy access.